Crime and Intelligence Coordinator for Brisbane region. I'm just here today to give you an update on our Irish tourists who have drawn a lot of attention to themselves and certainly caused some havoc across parts of southeast Queensland. A number of the people have left the country in the last 18 hours, last day and a half. That's a very good outcome for the prevention of further crime in our community, and I have to acknowledge that that has been a mutual benefit as a result of police, media and the community working together. I don't have any additional reports of any further crimes, and I think it's reasonable to assume that that's as a result of the great attention both on social media and general media by the release of the photographs of these people and bringing it to the attention of everybody. We have at least 4 people we know remain in the country, 2 males and 2 females. Detectives are still working on the investigations in respect of those particular individuals where there is some allegation about those people in terms of fraud and some damage to property. We are continuing to work with our colleagues in Australian Border Force who've been most cooperative with us, sharing information. We've been sharing information with them. And to date, as I said, there's 4 people who remain outstanding. At the conclusion of this interview, we'll do up a release with those specific photos of those people who remain outstanding, and we'll share that with you. Does anyone have any questions?
Where are you at in terms of the investigation into the roof rip-off down the Gold Coast?
Yeah, that's still ongoing. We clearly have strong suspicion and belief about that offences have been committed. Of course, the standard of proof is beyond reasonable doubt to put it before a court, and our investigators on the Gold Coast are following up with that just to identify which people may have actually, we can prove, committed those offences.
How would you describe that offence in regards to potentially the other ones that could be linked to similar people? Is that the largest one?
Yes. There's one on the Gold Coast where the allegation exceeds more than $20,000, and I think that what's particularly concerning about that is it's elderly people who are pensioners who are the victims of this. And now, whether it's this group of people or another group of people, I reiterate that no one should be forced to have to submit to someone forcing themselves on you to do business. And there's an element of, if it's too good to be true, it is, probably is, but also that you're perfectly entitled to say no thank you, consult with your family, consult with a trade association to see whether those people are legitimate.
Does that fall in line with maybe their operation as such with other, the restaurant stuff and stuff, that they kind of get vulnerable people and kind of belittle them down a bit until they just cave in and stuff? I
think that's part of it. This is fraud type offences, dishonesty. They're very personal, aren't they? And for a victim, not only have you received whatever the financial damage is, but it actually, generally people who are the victim, particularly of serious fraud, it has a real impact on you because you've been tricked. You've, for the want of a better term, you've fallen for something, and there's a consequence to that. And I also think that experience shows that people behave this way. It's either very, very smooth or there's a degree of being overbearing. And certainly the information available to me says that these people, some of these people have behaved in a way that has taken advantage of the goodwill of businesses and people. And frankly, if you stand back and take a moment and think about how our society works, it really does work on trust and goodwill. And where some of those restaurateurs have stood up to them, there's certainly evidence to show that, I won't say it was intimidation, but it was certainly such that they were in a difficult position.
Obviously, they've left the country now, which is a good thing in some respects,
yes.
But at the same time, they've also slipped through the net. How have they been able to escape without you guys realising?
No, what I would say is I come back to that point about there's suspicion. The system we work under is everyone's innocent till proven guilty. So the fact for us to arrest someone has to be more than just that there's a group of people together, that this person, and we've actually got the evidence to prosecute them. And that's where the nature of this, whilst over the last sort of 72 hours it's all been bundled up together and it looks like it's neatly assigned by time. The fact is that this is over about 6 weeks and spread across southeast Queensland. So part of the challenge for our people is actually identifying which ones actually this group of people are potentially responsible for, because obviously crime is being reported across the state all of the time, and then actually identifying what we can actually prove. Now, we have the opportunity to work with Border Force and share information with them to stop people leaving if we're going to commence a prosecution. So whilst Border Force were quite aware of this, we weren't in a position at that time to actually say they cannot leave the country because we're in a position to actually arrest them for some of these more serious offences. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of dealing with the victims, but there's no doubt we had the suspicion, and there's absolutely no doubt we had the concern, but actually getting to the point where we can say we can prosecute. Now, we believe we're in that position now. I still have to be careful what I say, innocent till proven guilty, but certainly with the remaining 4 people, we believe we're in a position now to commence a prosecution. And if that information is being shared with our colleagues in Border Force, and if the situation arises, we will commence that prosecution.
So Border Force know who they are, they've been identified. So
Yes.
4 people who remain.
Yes.
And the others,
Yes.
the others that have now escaped.
I wouldn't use the word
well,
escape,
that
they've
have
left.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's the likelihood of you being able to bring them back here to charge them?
I think
Is that an option?
what we do with any extradition, there's a balancing act here. There's a significant cost to the community in terms of that. Our primary task over the last few days was once it became quite evident that we weren't just dealing with an individual who was committing an offence and then that doesn't commit but we've actually got a pattern of behaviour here. As I said at the beginning, is by going public, by putting their faces out there and being quite overt, it stopped any more offences. So, our officers are actually challenged by the amount of things that they need to do. So for us, any time we can have a situation where we stop crime happening and keep our community safe, and I know that sounds very academic, but that's just the truth of the matter. So for us, the fact that we've now got certainly in the case of Queensland, people who aren't going to be the victim of crime anymore, I'm quite pleased with that. In terms of whether we can actually bring them back, we will make an assessment now as the investigation continues, whether there's sufficient evidence to identify particular individuals. The mere fact that you have a group of people together of itself doesn't make everyone guilty. So it's about actually identifying which people have committed an offence, and then we'll objectively assess where are they and whether or not there is actually a likely to succeed in a prosecution of court, and whether that actually stacks up to bring them back. What I am very keen to do, buddies, is wherever it is lawful, we will continue to share our information with Border Force, who also have arrangements with their partner agencies around the world. And we will certainly do everything we can legally to make it difficult for them to enter into any country to commit those offences.
With the remaining 4 people,
Yep.
So is it, you've told Border Force not to let them out of the country. If they attempt to leave the country...
What we've done is we've given them alert and say, if you find if those people come through to you, and this has only just happened a short time ago, is that let us know, and then we'll make an assessment on what we're going to do. I need to be careful and say that, innocent till proven guilty, and there's 4 people we believe are travelling together. Not all of them may have committed offences.
And I guess you did, I can't remember your exact wording, but you did say, there's quite a bit of evidence there that might lead you to be able to prosecute these
Yep.
people. So is that, I guess, has that fallen into the decision to, obviously you knew the names of those other 5
Yes.
people before they went through. It, like you say, it's a bit of a balancing act. You knew you had a stronger case against these 4 people. Or certain
It's the passage of time as well works to our favour. Is that we've had a team of investigators across southeast Queensland drawing together, identifying in amongst those crime types which ones may or may not be these people, and which ones we believe that we can commence prosecution on. And even with these, we will make an assessment on what's in the circumstances, what's the best thing to do. It depends when, it depends where, and I'm not trying to be ambiguous, but it may well be best that we let them leave the country, and we'll make that decision at the time.
And I guess you mentioned, your police officers are really busy doing lots of things.
Yeah.
overall, if they leave the country, Queenslanders are better off and they won't be able
Yes.
to get back in. So I guess is it just more convenient to let them leave the country and not bring them back and have the legal costs and have the cost of putting them in jail?
There's no question that's a consideration. The other thing we need to think about is what is the likelihood of them being incarcerated, and probably most importantly for the victims, are they likely to get restitution? These are, I'm actually very victim focused here. What's right for the victim, and whilst it seems straightforward, yep, find them, arrest them, but we've got to think about that if we revoke a visa of someone, or we seek the Commonwealth's approval to revoke a visa when we prosecute someone, the state of Queensland bears the cost then of them staying in the state. So then we've got to deal with how long. Let's talk in generic terms here. If we were to prosecute someone, they may or may not plead guilty on the first appearance. If they don't, then it's going to be set down for a trial. That has a period of time. And I really hate to be talking about dollars when we're talking about justice, but there is a balancing act there about making sure our community's safe to prevent more offences versus what is the likely outcome of this. So they're the things I've spoken with our investigators about, and when the time comes that these people, because Australia, that's one thing we're very lucky, it's not like Europe with porous borders. They will have to go through a port of some sort. I expect we will get a call, and depending on where we are with the investigation, we'll make a decision then about whether we say, okay, overall it's best to let them go home and make sure they never come back to this country, or whether or not actually we've progressed it to a point, because there may well be more complaints come out in the intervening period, then we'll make an assessment then.
So with that then, the victims that have lost say 20 grand might never see that money again?
It's possible, yes.
For them to go overseas?
Yeah, well, the starting question for us is, do we have sufficient grounds to commence a prosecution? And, you know, one of the things when a matter is put before the higher court is a magistrate will could a jury properly instructed make a finding of guilt? And so that's one of the things that we will look at. So we have to deal with more than just, I have a view about the behaviour of these people, but whether we can prove it beyond reasonable doubt in its entirety, which person did what, and I'm not trying to make this bureaucratic, but that's the reality of our world, is that we have to be able to prove it. Yeah, that is a risk. And frankly, that really, I find that unsettling, because there are ordinary people who've come off second best as a result of this, and that's always concerning.
Do you think it's hard to swallow for those elderly people down the Gold Coast then, who have lost $20,000+,
Yeah.
for you to say, you know, oh, it's probably not worth the money to prosecute?
And I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's a consideration for us. And the first step before we say that is do we think that we can have a successful prosecution? And so therefore, again, without disclosing particular individuals, one of the things we need to do is have people who are victims be able to identify who an offender is, and to a standard that we can satisfy a court, and then the prospect of whether or not restitution is likely.
Where did that go?
My understanding is they took a number of flights, and they've probably headed off into Asia.
And will those communities be alerted to their...
I believe so. I believe so. And certainly, I'm kind of doing this in stages, but one of the things is to protect Australia and make sure Australia is safe. And obviously we have to follow the law, but what we're looking for is making sure that we can share information lawfully. But I certainly think where there's a reasonable allegation, certainly in the case of Australia, and you may need to go to Border Force for the specifics of this, but there is a character test to come into the country. And that's where we'll be looking to share our information where we can.
Do we know if they were here on tourist visas?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
And for the remaining 4, is there a known location as to where
No.
they might be?
No. And I think what we've seen over the last couple of days is that the attention that has been given to them is it would appear they've very much gone to ground. But they have been quite brazen in their behaviour, so I wouldn't be assuming that... and that's why we will release those photographs to you again and ask that that be put out to the community, because if it is drawn to their attention, if those people come to their attention, we would very much like to know about it, and we'll follow up.
So how long were you aware of a group of people moving around committing these acts?
Are you talking about Queensland Police or Tony Fleming? And I don't mean to be difficult, but I'm the regional crime coordinator for Brisbane region. An awful lot of things happen. It's certainly, I can't remember the exact day, but last week it became clear to me that we had a pattern. As you may recall, I think I said on Saturday, identifying is there a connection between all of these people, or are they? Is it a coincidence? We certainly had reports when we go back. There's been individual reports separated by some time and location, and as I said, it's about pulling them out amongst all of the other crimes.
The decision to apprehend them, is it factored in that they've got quite a few children with them, and that's likely to be messy, apprehended, kids?
I think in terms of just commencing a prosecution, the decision comes down to whether we have sufficient evidence. That then turns to the court's decision about whether or not people have bail and then how they're treated by the court process. But there's no doubt people who have children, that will always come to a court's mind about how they'll deal with that.
Do you believe the 4 adults who are still in the country are travelling with children?
I don't know. I don't know. But that's, I suspect my officers will know, but that's certainly something that I haven't asked the question of. But there's quite a few people left over the last day and a bit. It's possible that includes children.
Do you think they're still in Queensland?
That I don't know. But that's why I'm very alert to the fact, and we share our media releases and our intelligence with our colleagues interstate, because it's quite conceivable that they will travel interstate.
The ones who left, did they leave from Queensland?
No. New South Wales. Yep.
Whereabouts in New South Wales?
Sydney. Yeah.
If you had to tally up all the figures, what would be a rough estimate for how much these people have released?
Can I come back to you on that? I don't know. I don't know.
Officer, sorry if I missed this at the start, but is there a link between the women who've been scamming these restaurants in Brisbane and the elderly couple fleeced the money on the Gold Coast?
We're working on that. One of the things is we've got 2 separate families. We know by separate names. It appears that there is some association with that, but as I said earlier, is what we have strong suspicion and belief and what we can prove are they're 2 different factors. But certainly in totality there appears to be some connection in terms of this group of people, both in terms of dishonest offences.
And you're investigating other victims, potential victims of this group of roofers?
Well, what we've done is we've asked people if they have a complaint to let us know. I certainly recall back on Friday there was a lot of social media, and there was certainly a difference between what was on social media and the official complaints that we had. I'm not aware of any new complaints that have come in today, but obviously for us to commence action we need to know about it.
So does the count still remain at 12?
Yes.
So just to clarify, 5 people have left?
No, more than that. We're talking upwards of 20 people have left. Yeah. Now, I need to clarify that those 20 people are not all suspects, but this is a group of people that our colleagues in Border Force have identified had some sort of association and travelled on different flights, but yes, and that's why I suspect there's children in amongst that group.
Are you all Irish?
I believe so, but I can't be certain that all of those people who travelled in the last day and a bit are Irish.
You said those 12 businesses, but how many court cases were there?
Ooh, let me come back to you on that. I think we'll put that in the release. Yeah.
Was it the case that maybe you knew that the group of 20 or however many they were leaving at that time, but there wasn't enough to charge them at that particular time or detain them?
Yeah, look, at that time, the information as it became available to us, we weren't satisfied that there was enough that we could actually have them detained and arrested and extradited back from New South Wales.
What's the process with ABF? Are these people, the 4 remaining, are their passports now junked, so to speak?
No, what happens now is we put out an alert with our colleagues in ABF, and one of the things is sometimes that is, look, if someone comes through, can you just let us know? Sometimes it is we have an authority, we don't want you to let them leave the country. And that's why where we have the opportunity to take out an arrest warrant, we'll make some decisions about that today. And if we can take out an arrest warrant, that makes it very, very clear they're not leaving the country.
How are you able to make a link between roofing, fraud and glassing food in restaurants?
Well, that's one of the things I've asked my detectives to do, but it is certainly about looking at what witnesses have to say in terms of description of people. Certainly CCTV helps us an awful lot, and looking at that connection. So that's, you know, I don't want to be trite about it, but it is, yes, we can have very clear suspicion about this group of people, but what can we actually prove to the satisfaction of a court, and are they actually connected? That is certainly one of the things in commencing a prosecution we would be looking at. And as I said before, the mere fact that 5 people in any situation, or however many people turn up to a scene and an offence is committed, mere presence of itself doesn't automatically mean that you're guilty of an offence. So that's why for us is we've actually got to go through and who did what and what can we actually prove.
Do you know whether this is the first time this group's been to Australia, or?
I don't know, but I will be doing everything I can to make sure it's the last time that they're in Australia. And I say that quite sincerely. We are really serious about our mission of stopping crime, making the community safe, and prevention is a really key focus of this. So even if we don't result in a prosecution, I have my people gathering information from an intelligence and evidentiary point of view, that where we can lawfully share our information with our colleagues in the Commonwealth, we will do that so they don't get entry back into the country.
Just
Right.
these
Last question.
These 20 or so people, I'm not sure what the right term is, but do you know if they're associated with what's known as the Gypsy Community Island?
Look, I've heard that allegation. For us, it's almost an irrelevancy. One is I'm conscious of the connotation, both negative and positive there, certainly the history of the Gypsies. For us, this really comes down to a group of people are alleged to have committed some offences. What can we prove? What can we do about it? What can we keep our community safe? What we do know is that these people are from Ireland, and I guess for all the honest Irish people here in Australia, it must be very disappointing that we're now 3 or 4 days in a row talking about some Irish tourists. And I guess we're, 26 days away from the Commonwealth Games. We're going to have a big influx of tourists in our state. We welcome tourists. It's vital to our economy of Queensland. But there's one condition. You respect our people and you respect our laws. And otherwise, come on down and enjoy this great place. Okay, thank you very much.